Have you ever stopped in the middle of masturbation and wondered, why is my erection weaker than it used to be? Most men think the problem comes from age, hormones, or stress, but the truth is far more uncomfortable. Many men unintentionally weaken their penis, reduce their sensitivity, and damage their erections with the very technique they believe is helping them relax. And if you are over 50 or 60, your body becomes even more sensitive to the way you touch yourself. What once felt normal may now be silently working against your sexual health. I'm Dr. Emily Collins, urologist specializing in men's sexual performance, and today I want to open a different kind of conversation. Masturbation is healthy. It improves circulation, supports prostate function, and keeps your sexual system active. But only when you do it correctly. The wrong habits create microdamage that affects blood flow, nerve response, and the quality of your erection during sex and even during solo stimulation. Most men are shocked when they finally learn what is actually happening beneath the surface. Think about the last time you masturbated. Were you rushing? Using too much pressure? Repeating the same intense pattern you've used for decades? Your penis adapts to whatever stimulus you give it. If the technique is too aggressive, too fast, or too repetitive, your brain becomes conditioned to respond only to that specific sensation. In real intimacy, the penis cannot match that same intensity, and this creates frustration, performance anxiety, and softer erections. And the more you repeat the same mistake, the more your erection quality declines. Your penis thrives on healthy blood flow, gentle stimulation, and nerve responsiveness. But the wrong technique can quietly choke circulation, irritate the skin, and numb the nerve endings responsible for pleasure and firmness. Many men come to my clinic saying, "I feel less during sex," or "my erection gets hard but doesn't stay hard," and they never realize the root cause is hidden in their daily routine. So before we talk about the 3 mistakes that are instantly ruining your erection, I want you to reflect for a moment on your habits. Have you felt your sensitivity drop? Have erections become inconsistent? Have you noticed that sex feels different from masturbation? You are not alone. What you are about to learn may surprise you, and it may explain exactly why your penis is not performing the way it used to. And as you listen, I want to hear from you. You already know how important your sexual health is, so leave a comment sharing whether you've ever experienced these changes. Hit the like button to help more men understand this topic, and check if you're already subscribed so you don't miss the next steps. This insight might be the turning point for your confidence, and what comes next will show you exactly how to take control again. As you begin to understand how your daily habits shape your erection quality, it becomes essential to look at what actually happens to a man's body after the age of 50 or 60. Many men blame themselves, thinking they are losing their masculinity, when the truth is that the body simply changes its rhythm, its structure, and its response to sexual stimulation. These changes are not failures. They are biological shifts that require a smarter, more respectful approach to how you touch yourself. And when you learn this, your penis, your sensitivity, and your erection strength can improve dramatically. The first major change is circulation. Younger men have flexible arteries that open easily, filling the penis with fast, strong blood flow. But as you age, those vessels stiffen and react more slowly. This means your erection no longer rushes in like it once did. It builds in smaller waves, requiring more patience and more controlled stimulation. When you masturbate too aggressively or too quickly, the penis can't keep up with the demand, and the erection collapses halfway, leaving you thinking something is wrong. But what's really happening is that your body is asking for a different tempo. The second change occurs in nerve sensitivity. Over decades, the nerve endings in the penis become less reactive. They still work, but they take longer to fire and longer to build pleasurable sensations. If you use the same fast, intense routine you relied on at 25, your nerves get overwhelmed. You end up needing more force or more speed to feel the same effect, and this slowly numbs the penis even more. It becomes a cycle men don't realize they are trapped in until erection strength begins to fall. The third shift involves hormones. Testosterone doesn't disappear, but it becomes less impulsive, less automatic. Desire still exists, but it may not appear instantly the moment you start touching yourself. This makes warm-up stimulation more important than ever. When men skip this step and go straight into fast, high-pressure strokes, the body doesn't have enough time to activate the hormonal and neurological pathways that support a firm, lasting erection. Finally, the skin itself changes. The tissue of the penis becomes thinner and more vulnerable. Without proper lubrication or mindful technique, small irritations accumulate, increasing inflammation and making the penis more sensitive to damage. This affects not only your erections but also your comfort the next day. Many men feel soreness and assume it's random, when in reality it's a direct response to their technique. Understanding these shifts is the key to recovering your erection strength. None of this means you are losing your virility. It simply means the strategy that worked years ago no longer matches the biology you have today. And when you align the right technique with the way your body now functions, you unlock a level of control, sensitivity, and firmness you may not have felt in years. Once you understand how aging changes circulation, nerve response, and hormonal rhythm, the first major mistake becomes impossible to ignore. Most men don't even realize they are doing it because it feels familiar, automatic, and sometimes even necessary to reach climax. But the truth is that using a tight, aggressive grip is one of the most damaging habits for your erection, and it affects men far more intensely after 50 or 60. What once felt harmless when you were younger can now quietly sabotage your sensitivity and your ability to maintain a firm erection during real intimacy. A strong grip compresses the penile tissue far more than the body is designed to handle. The penis depends on open, flexible blood vessels to stay hard, but when you squeeze too tightly, you restrict that blood flow the same way you would pinch a hose. In the moment, it may feel stimulating because the pressure creates friction, but biologically you are reducing the natural expansion of the erectile chambers. Over time, this leads to weaker filling, slower arousal, and erections that fade more easily. The second issue with a tight grip is nerve fatigue. The penis contains thousands of delicate nerve endings responsible for pleasure and arousal. When you apply too much pressure, you overwhelm those nerves, forcing them to adapt to extreme stimulation. The brain begins to expect this unnatural intensity. As a result, normal touch from a partner, or even a more gentle solo technique, no longer produces the same response. Many men describe the sensation as feeling numb, less awake, or not as sensitive as before, and this is often the direct result of years of using too much force. Another consequence is what we call death grip conditioning. When your brain becomes accustomed to the exact pressure, angle, and force you use during masturbation, it builds a dependency on that specific pattern. During sex, your erection weakens because your body is waiting for the familiar grip instead of responding to natural stimulation. This creates confusion, frustration, and the belief that something is wrong with your penis, when in reality the problem is the pattern you've unknowingly trained it to expect. The skin also suffers from aggressive technique. After 50, the skin of the penis becomes thinner, losing some elasticity. A tight grip creates microabrasions and irritation that you may not notice immediately, but these small injuries cause inflammation that disrupts healthy blood flow. The next day, some men feel mild soreness or an odd sensitivity, assuming it's age or random discomfort, when it is actually the body warning you that the technique is too harsh. The emotional impact is equally important. When erections start to weaken, men often respond by gripping even harder, trying to force their way back to the sensation they used to feel. But this only deepens the problem. Instead of supporting the natural pathways that create arousal, the grip becomes a barrier that blocks circulation, overloads nerves, and conditions the brain to rely on an unhealthy stimulus. Recognizing this mistake is the first essential step toward restoring real sensitivity and natural erection strength. Once you understand the biological and neurological consequences of an overly aggressive technique, it becomes clear that the path to better performance starts with changing the way you touch yourself and giving your body the conditions it needs to respond the way it once did. When you begin to understand how the grip shapes your erection and sensitivity, the next mistake becomes even more obvious, yet most men never notice it until their performance starts to decline. The second major problem is the speed and rhythm you use during masturbation. Men often fall into fast, repetitive patterns that feel efficient in the moment, but these patterns rewire the brain in ways that directly weaken natural arousal. What starts as a habit turns into a conditioning process that alters how your penis responds in every sexual situation. Fast stimulation triggers an artificial dopamine surge. The brain receives sharp, short bursts of pleasure that feel rewarding, but they bypass the deeper pathways responsible for slow-building arousal and stable erections. When you rely too heavily on quick, rhythmic strokes, your brain adapts to this fast gratification. As a result, slower, more sensual touch during sex fails to activate the same intensity. The penis needs strong neurological input to stay firm, and when the brain expects extreme speed, normal stimulation feels muted, causing inconsistent erections. Repetition is another hidden problem. When a man masturbates the same way every time, the brain memorizes that sequence like a script. It learns to respond only when the pattern matches the one practiced repeatedly. This creates a rigid neurological loop where arousal becomes dependent on a single tempo and technique. During real intimacy, the body does not receive that exact pattern, and the erection collapses because the brain is waiting for a stimulus that never comes. This is why many men report feeling fully aroused during masturbation but lose firmness the moment they transition to sex. The nervous system also becomes overstimulated by fast, repetitive motions. The penis needs time to process sensations, build tension, and engage the erectile tissues. When you rush stimulation, the nerves fire too quickly and then shut down from fatigue. Men often describe this as hitting a plateau. The erection starts strong, then suddenly drops for no clear reason. In reality, the body is struggling to maintain performance under a pace that no longer matches its biological capacity. Speed also affects breathing and muscle tension. Fast masturbation encourages shallow breaths and tight pelvic muscles, creating unnecessary pressure around the arteries that supply blood to the penis. This tension disrupts circulation, making it harder to maintain erection strength. Over time, the body associates sexual arousal with tension rather than relaxation, creating an internal conflict that weakens performance. For men over 50 or 60, these effects compound even faster. Older bodies rely on controlled stimulation, steady rhythm, and proper oxygenation to maintain healthy erections. A fast, repetitive routine overwhelms the sexual system, leaving the penis dependent on unrealistic stimulation that partners cannot replicate. This mismatch becomes one of the most common causes of situational erectile dysfunction, even in men who appear to have normal health. Understanding how speed and repetition condition your brain is essential to rebuilding natural arousal. Once you see how this pattern shapes your erection, it becomes clear that lasting sexual performance depends not on intensity or speed, but on retraining your nervous system to respond to real, organic stimulation that supports your biological strengths rather than working against them. As you start to see how speed and repetition condition your brain, there is another mistake that affects erection quality even more deeply, yet stays hidden because most men never feel the damage as it happens. The third major problem is masturbating without proper lubrication. Many men think this is a minor detail or that natural moisture is enough, but the skin of the penis becomes thinner and more fragile with age. Without lubrication, the friction you create doesn't just stimulate, it irritates, inflames, and gradually damages the very tissues responsible for firmness and sensitivity. When the penis is dry, every stroke creates microscopic abrasions on the surface. You may not feel pain, but the skin begins to lose elasticity, and the nerve endings become less responsive. These tiny injuries accumulate over time, causing inflammation in the surrounding tissue. Inflammation reduces blood flow, and blood flow is the core foundation of a solid erection. Many men believe their erectile difficulties stem from hormonal decline or stress, when in reality, their penile tissue is simply too irritated to function at full capacity. Another issue with lack of lubrication is the pressure your hand applies to compensate for the dryness. Without smooth glide, men instinctively squeeze harder or increase speed to maintain stimulation. This worsens the friction and magnifies the risk of microlesions. Over time, the penis becomes more sensitive to irritation and less sensitive to pleasure. What used to feel exciting now feels dull or requires more effort, creating a cycle where you push harder and harder, deepening the very problem you are trying to escape. Dry friction also affects the internal structures. The erectile chambers depend on smooth, unobstructed expansion. When the external tissue becomes irritated, the internal tissue tightens defensively, reducing the natural filling of blood. This can make erections feel incomplete or shaky, rising quickly but fading just as fast. Men often describe this as an erection that doesn't lock in. And this instability is frequently linked to the silent inflammation caused by masturbation without lubrication. Another hidden consequence is delayed soreness or discomfort the next day. Many men feel a subtle burning or hypersensitivity and assume it is age, but it is often the result of unnoticed irritation during masturbation. This lingering sensitivity makes the penis less cooperative when arousal returns, weakening your performance during the next sexual encounter. Even worse, the body begins to associate stimulation with irritation rather than pleasure, which slowly disrupts the psychological and physical connection required for consistent erections. Using lubrication is not just about comfort, it is a protective measure for sexual health. The older the skin becomes, the more support it needs. Lubrication reduces friction, preserves nerve integrity, and protects the microstructures that allow the penis to become firm. It also helps retrain the brain to respond to gentler, more natural stimulation, breaking the cycle of harsh pressure and repeated irritation. By understanding how something as simple as dryness can sabotage your erection, you begin to see how small adjustments can create dramatic improvements in sensitivity, confidence, and overall performance. Now that you understand how dryness, friction, and silent microdamage undermine your erection, the next step is learning how to reverse the effects of all three mistakes. Men are often surprised when they realize that improving erection quality does not always require medication or complicated routines. In many cases, the solution begins with simple adjustments that restore sensitivity, protect circulation, and retrain the nervous system to respond naturally again. These changes support the biology of a man over 50 or 60 rather than working against it, giving your penis the conditions it needs to regain strength and consistency. The first correction is reducing pressure. Instead of gripping tightly, use a looser, more controlled touch that allows blood to move freely inside the erectile chambers. This gives the tissue a chance to expand fully, helping you regain that firm, stable feeling you may have been missing. A lighter grip also forces your nerves to wake up again. At first, it may feel less intense, but this is because your penis has been conditioned to extreme stimulation. Over time, the nerves recover, and your sensitivity improves in a way that feels more natural and more pleasurable. The second correction is slowing down your rhythm. This may feel unfamiliar if you have spent years relying on fast stimulation, but slowing down allows your body to rebuild the neurological pathways that support strong arousal. When you use a slower pace, you give your brain time to process pleasure signals instead of overwhelming them. This activates deeper arousal circuits that are essential for maintaining erection strength during sex. Men who switch to a slower technique often report feeling a warm, full response in the penis that they haven't felt in a long time. The third correction is adding lubrication consistently. A high-quality, skin-friendly lubricant reduces friction to almost zero, protecting the delicate nerve endings and preventing microlesions. Lubrication also enhances glide, helping you rely less on force and more on sensation. This alone can dramatically reduce irritation and inflammation, allowing your penis to recover between sessions. As inflammation decreases, blood flow improves, and your erections become thicker, more stable, and more enduring. Another important adjustment is incorporating warm-up stimulation. Instead of jumping directly into intense strokes, start with gentle touch, slower movement, and gradual build-up. This gives your hormones time to activate, improves oxygenation of the tissue, and allows the erectile chambers to fill progressively. Warm-up is especially important for men over 50 because it supports the vascular and neurological systems that take longer to respond than they once did. Treat this step as essential preparation rather than an optional detail. Finally, pay attention to how your body reacts day by day. If you feel soreness, dryness, or reduced sensitivity, these are signals that you need a gentler approach. When you adjust your habits with respect for your body's current biology, you create a powerful shift in how your erection responds. What begins as a small change in technique soon turns into a noticeable improvement in firmness, stability, and sexual confidence, building a foundation for healthier stimulation and stronger performance moving forward. As you begin applying these adjustments, your body gradually relearns how to respond in a healthier, more natural way. A man's erection is not just a physical reaction, it is a coordinated process involving nerves, circulation, hormones, skin integrity, and psychological readiness. When you stop overwhelming your penis with harsh pressure, excessive speed, and friction, you give those systems the chance to realign. With each session done the right way, sensitivity slowly returns, blood flow increases, and the penis reacts with a firmness that feels fuller and more dependable. This is why a structured, healthy masturbation routine becomes such an important tool for men over 50 or 60. Building that routine starts with pacing. Set aside a moment when you are not rushed or distracted. Calm mental focus. Lowers tension in the pelvic muscles and allows circulation to move freely. Begin with gentle stimulation, letting the penis warm up as the tissue expands. This alone can make a dramatic difference in how quickly your erection stabilizes. Older bodies do not respond well to sudden intensity, but they thrive when arousal rises gradually, giving the brain time to activate deeper pathways associated with strong sexual performance. The next step is consistency. Use lubrication every time, maintain a moderate rhythm, and keep your grip light enough to allow full expansion. These habits teach your penis to respond to more realistic stimulation, breaking the dependency on aggressive patterns. As the tissue becomes healthier, you will notice that erections come more easily and last longer without the constant need to force stimulation. For men who have struggled with sensitivity loss, this shift often feels like rediscovering a part of themselves they thought was gone. It's also important to stay aware of how your body feels during and after stimulation. If you notice lingering discomfort, dryness, or fading sensitivity, treat it as feedback. Adjust your technique gently, not through force but through awareness. The more you practice this mindful approach, the more your body rewards you with stronger, more stable erections. Many men realize that what they interpreted as aging was actually a buildup of unhealthy habits, and once corrected, their sexual confidence begins to return naturally. Over time, this routine not only protects your erection but enhances your overall sexual experience. Your body becomes more responsive, your nerves more awake, and your arousal more stable. This is how men at any age can maintain satisfying, powerful sexual health, supported by habits that respect the biology of a mature body rather than fighting against it. And if you reach this point, it tells me you value your performance and want to take real control over your sexual health. Leave a comment saying this phrase so I know you stayed with me until the end. I'm rebuilding my strength. Hit the like button if this helped you understand your body better, and make sure you are subscribed so you keep receiving content that supports your confidence and your erection health. There is another video right here that deepens this topic and continues your progress, so click and keep moving forward with me there.